Hi folks, welcome to your mwis Friday Planner in association with Ellis Brigham. It's a settled weather pattern that's around at the moment, and dry conditions are forecast really throughout the full week ahead as high pressure stays in charge. A good amount of sunshine overall. There will be some areas of low-level fog and some banks of cloud too that could make skies rather overcast in places, particularly across England and Wales, where a frequent and rather cool northeasterly wind will prevail. Now, the synoptic charts won't have too much to show for themselves over the next few days, so we'll dig into some detail of some fog and cloud in a moment. This is the situation for the weekend, and high pressure is centred to the west of us on Saturday. Most places seeing very light winds, just something of a northeasterly breeze across the Peak District and across Wales. It's probably the warmest day of the weekend as a whole for most places. Most hills and mountains then in double figures through the daytime, and the warmest spots around the central highlands getting to around 15 or 16 degrees at Munro level. A bit cooler around some western coastal fringes, and particularly on lower slopes where there will be some fog banks around. Now, there's a weak front that's just drifting down from the north on Sunday. All that may do is just produce a bit more in the way of cloud cover and, again, some low-level fog in places. Something more of a northeasterly breeze for many places for Sunday, strongest around Pennine areas where it will feel rather cool. The general drift coming around the high from the northeast, meaning that northern Scotland, the Cairngorms, the Cheviots, down the Pennines, probably staying in single figures on the higher tops right the way through. You're looking at a temperature around 12 degrees or so across the Western Lake District and around 13 Celsius on the high tops in Snowdonia. Western Scotland, 13 or 14 degrees on the Munros. Let's have a look at some cloud and fog charts then. This is a visibility chart, and it's quite a high resolution model, and it's visibility at surface levels, so it's trying to indicate fog basically, and where the darker colours are shown on this chart, that's where the fog is expected. It may be a bit overdone across England, but there's scope for some mistiness around in the morning, and you can see the fog banks around the coasts in western Scotland. Let's roll the story on then through the day. That fog disappears very quickly what's around across northern England, but just notice how things do linger across western coasts of Scotland. And this really gives away, if you like, the inversion that's in place. If we just pause there mid-afternoon, the fog is really draped around the coast and the islands, with the indication there that the higher terrain is very much above the fog, the hills and the mountains all in the clear above an inversion, even the Western Isles poking through with that fog just around the coast. Very low level stuff then on the whole. If you're on those higher western mountains, it could well be then that you're looking out over a sea of fog below you. Otherwise, things are looking clear. We'll continue that story onwards into Saturday evening and night, and that just slight change of wind direction, strengthening northerly, just pulls some of that fog around into northern Scotland. So as we go into first thing on Sunday, it could be that much of northern Scotland has got some low-level fog banks, the hills and mountains generally still above that, and some of that fog has drifted down to coastal areas in North Wales, and it may lap up onto some of the hill slopes for a time. Most of it's still low-level stuff with the higher summits above an inversion. And as we just go through the day on Sunday, again, it's coastal areas of fog. There's some zones indicated around the Irish Sea, so North Wales, some western areas around Cardigan Bay. Again, northwest Scotland with some fog banks around the coast, and some parts of the Cheviots down the northeast coast of England too could see those fog banks around through the afternoon. Putting a slightly different angle on things, this model chart is indicating the cloud potential and the cloud at different levels in the atmosphere. The red colours indicating sort of the fair weather cloud that you'd expect, most of it above the hills at this stage. Just to run the story on through Saturday, the pinker bluer colours toward northern Scotland is more sort of high level wispy cloud, if you like. That is just half associated with that front that was well toward the north at this stage. Late Saturday afternoon then, some haziness of the sky across Scotland, maybe just as that high cloud comes in, and you can just get the sense that there's a bit of infill of cloud across England and Wales, so could be rather overcast skies in places, with coastal areas around the Irish Sea at this point and around Cumbria as a whole seeing the clearest of the skies, whilst the Peak District and the Pennines could just be that bit more cloudy. As we take things onwards just through into Sunday, that weak front coming down from the north again has some areas of cloud around coming southwards through the day on Sunday. So variable cloud across the skies of Britain through Sunday daytime. There's those low-level mist and fog banks to bear in mind that we mentioned as well. So it could just be that Sunday is a cloudier day for many, but there will be still some pockets of sunshine around and breaking through in places. I think best again across western Scotland. Onwards into next week, and high pressure stays in charge towards the northwest of us, and a northeasterly breeze will prevail across England and Wales. Could be quite a breezy picture then through Monday daytime. Wind speeds over the Peak District, the Pennines, 15, 20, even 25 miles per hour at times, and really taking the edge off the temperatures on exposed spots, anywhere facing that northeasterly wind in particular. Lighter winds across much of Scotland. Temperature values then still single figures across more eastern hills, mostly into double figures across western regions, with West Wales and Western Scotland faring the best of all. Could you still find that it's a rather cloudy story being drawn in from the North Sea across England and perhaps much of Wales as well. Best of the sunshine, Western Lake District and across Western Scotland. Put that story on repeat, I think, for the next few days. Tuesday and indeed Wednesday see very little changes. Coolest and cloudiest across more eastern hills. That cloud may fill in across England and Wales as a whole. Sunniest for western Scotland. That's Tuesday, and that's Wednesday. There's hardly a great deal of difference between the two. Still that nagging northeasterly breeze, feeling rather cool then across the Pennines into Wales as well. Light winds much of the time for Scotland. Some early morning mist and fog patches in the valleys and the glens, and some, again, areas of coastal fog may just be around in places as well. So when do things change in the weather pattern? Well, only very slowly, and uncertainty exactly how things go by, let's say, next weekend, but high pressure still seems to be around for a few more days. There's an area of low pressure dragging itself down across Scandinavia. We may just be grazed by the effects of that from weak fronts that have got a bit of cloud cover in there again at times, but overall it's still a settled weather pattern that is likely to be in the picture for next weekend. There's areas of low pressure away over the Atlantic, and those might just start to interfere as time goes on, and that deeper low that's off eastern Canada into the south of Greenland may eventually set the scene as we go a bit further into September as a strengthening jet stream starts to emerge over the Atlantic. For now though, enjoy the settled spell of late summer weather if you can. That's your planning outlook in association with Ellis Brigham. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.